Now, a CBS Chicago investigation. A local crematory, now under investigation, has shut down. They're accused of mishandling bodies of people who recently died. CBS News Chicago investigator Dave Savini obtained disturbing pictures from inside, and he's here now. Dave?
Joe, we've blurred the pictures of what we found happening at this operation. Our investigation also uncovered a separate crematory's involvement, now both being questioned for how they handled the remains of loved ones.
As thick black smoke billows from this building, what we found happening on this property is disturbing. This is a crematory where the remains of loved ones should be handled with care. But instead, there are allegations of bodies on the floor of trailers, mishandled. We had to blur these photos we got from a source which appear to show legal violations.
Hey, I'm Dave Savini from CBS News. Can someone come out here and talk to me? Maybe an owner?
We went to the business called Heights Crematory in Chicago Heights to question them about allegations that the business is leaving these human remains in sheets or plastic bags, faces and other body parts fully exposed. Again, out of respect for the deceased and their families, we have decided to blur these images. All of this being investigated by the Illinois Comptroller's Office, which is in charge of regulating crematories in Illinois.
Hey, can I talk to you for a second? I'm Dave Savini from CBS.
The man closing the garage door runs the place with his wife.
Clark?
His name is Clark Morgan, and he has to answer to state regulators for how the business handled the remains of each person.
Hey, I got some pictures I want to show you. Can you come out here and talk to us for a second? This is Dave Savini from CBS.
We tried to show Morgan these images taken inside a trailer on the company's property 2 weeks ago.
Hello? I want to show you some photos of your operation.
Our CBS News Chicago investigators conducted surveillance on the operation and found scenes like this. Families typically send those they lost to a funeral home, and the funeral home then sends the remains to a crematory. Families are unaware of the conditions here. There are no words to describe what can be seen in these pictures.
Can you open up that trailer for me? Can you open up that trailer?
When we went here, we asked to look inside their trailers because it was a 53-degree day and we could not hear the refrigeration units running.
Should you be treating people's remains like this? There's bugs in the photos. They're in plastic. They're in sheets. Come on, Clark, talk to me.
The state confirms Clark Morgan's business has agreed to shut down while they investigate.
You think this is appropriate? Appropriate way to handle people's remains? Just leaving them in sheets like that?
A background check on the company shows other problems, millions of dollars in federal and state tax liens. Also under investigation by the state is another operation called Crown Cremations in Crown Point, Indiana. They're being investigated for their involvement in the bodies stored inside this trailer.
Hello? Hi, I'm with CBS News, ma'am.
The worker inside Crown Cremation's business office refused to talk to us.
I want to talk to you about pictures like this, ma'am. Take a look. Can you see this? Just look up from your computer. These are people, remains.
During the shutdown, the state is now going through cremation records here.
You got nothing to say? I mean, come on, you're dealing with people, human remains. Bye. No comment? Nope. That's it? You have anything to say?
Crown Cremation's lawyer did get back to us and said they're cooperating with Illinois investigators. In the meantime, they say they've severed their relationship with Heights Crematory. The comptroller's investigation could lead to thousands of dollars in penalties and possible revocation of Heights Crematory license. This is all still developing, Joe. We're finding out more information. We'll bring it to light as we get it.
Dave, thanks very much.
New information tonight on a story our investigators broke last week. Disturbing images of bodies stacked in a trailer outside a suburban crematorium.
Tonight we are hearing from the whistleblower who took those photos. Investigative reporter Dave Savini is here tonight with us with more on what he's learned. Dave?
Joe and Erica, families from Illinois and Indiana have been contacting us every day since we broke this story, angry about the way their loved ones were handled. You'll hear from them along with the man who took the photos that have led to what is now a multi-state investigation.
Are these some of the pictures that you took?
They are.
His name is Christopher Icovetti. He sent these photos to our CBS News Chicago investigators. Deceased people loaded into a trailer. We blurred the photos of bodies wrapped in sheets or plastic, body parts and faces exposed. This bag was full of dead bugs.
Describe for me what you see in those pictures.
Very deplorable conditions of storage. complete disrespect and disregard for the families of these loved ones.
We conducted our own surveillance of the location where the bodies were being stored in this trailer. This is Heights Crematory in Chicago Heights.
Can you open up that trailer for me? Can you open up that trailer?
Clark Morgan, who operates Heights, refused to open the trailer and also refused to answer our questions.
I'm Dave Savini from CBS. I want to show you some photos.
The photos were taken on February 15th, and 4 days later, the crematory was voluntarily shut down, pending an investigation by state regulators into the handling of the bodies here.
Should you be treating people's remains like this? There's bugs in the photos. They're in plastic. They're in sheets.
He was just treated like he wasn't even a person.
Her name is Brittany Sons, and she says her family trusted Crown Cremations in Crown Point, Indiana, to cremate her father, Danny Sons Sr. They say he was a hard-working family man, a carpenter by trade, who succumbed to cancer at the age of 61 in February. They had no idea he was transported over state lines and stored in this trailer.
What did it do to you to see those images with the trailer out back?
Just keep seeing like my dad in that trailer and just dumped like he was nothing.
To me, what that looked like, no different than if you threw my loved one in a landfill.
You felt you had to blow the whistle.
Yes, sir.
Ike Havetti is an electrician, but says a friend of his, a licensed funeral director, would on occasion ask him to help assist during removals of bodies from homes and hospitals.
You had seen something that you just couldn't unsee.
Correct. A very sad way to see the final days of where your loved one goes.
It's disgusting. It just makes you sick to the core.
Among those inside the trailer on the day the photos were taken was 81-year-old Merritt Morrow. He was a well-known dairy farmer and a Vietnam veteran.
What kind of a person was Merritt?
Everybody knows my dad for his laugh.
At his daughter's request, we showed her how her father's name was written in marker on a bedsheet.
There's writing right on that part of the sheet.
We blurred her father's face, sticking out of a loosely wrapped sheet, out of respect for him and his family.
It drives you crazy.
The Morrow family feels betrayed by Crown Cremations and Heights Crematory because they trusted both businesses to handle his body with dignity and respect.
Because you don't know, and you're the one that made that choice to go through their business and then to have this happen to your dad.
They wanted to hold a celebration of life for him, but they didn't get his ashes back for 2 weeks.
I don't even know if this is my father in this urn.
You're not sure because the trust was broken. You're not sure if you really got his ashes back.
You know they found 100 bodies out there?
Wow. Yeah.
Ike Havetti, a military veteran himself, also snapped the photo of this man in a suit in a plastic bag. One of the most troubling discoveries, he has been waiting to be cremated for a year.
I'll tell you from looking at him, the level of decomposition of him when I saw him, I knew he was there for a long time.
A message written on his body identifies him as Jasper Williams. The number 3 above his name is for the month of March of 2024. He was 74, and his family has now been informed.
You're dealing with people, human remains. Bye. No comment? Yep. That's it?
I look at him and I see a guy that had a wife, children, lived a good life. It just hit home to me.
Heights is only supposed to accept bodies in non-leakable containers. They must be refrigerated at 40 degrees or less. We could not hear the refrigerators running when we were there, and they have been cited in the past for storage violations. Crown Cremations was shipping their bodies there along with numerous Chicago area funeral homes. The Indiana Attorney General is now investigating along with the State of Illinois Comptroller Office. The families want both companies shut down for good and have contacted numerous police agencies for a criminal investigation. This is all over the place. They want justice, and they're looking for it, and they're fighting for it.
Understandably, yeah. Troubling.
Right. Thank you, Dave.
Dave, thanks. Breaking news now involving the improper handling of bodies at a suburban crematory.
Just hours ago, Heights Crematory had its license suspended, and now the state wants to shut it down for good. Our
CBS News Chicago investigative team broke this story last month, and reporter Dave Savini joins us now with these stunning new developments.
Joe and Erica, we've been conducting surveillance at Heights Crematory since February, but they had more eyes on them than ours. The state comptroller also got a tip back then, and just a few hours ago filed a complaint to revoke its license. Heights operators are accused of misrepresentation and concealing facts to state inspectors about bodies stored in a trailer. The complaint goes on to say unethical or unprofessional conduct likely to deceive or defraud or harm the public, and that Heights has engaged in gross malpractice.
I wouldn't trust these people literally with my pet.
Images like these of bodies stacked in a trailer, faces and body parts exposed, are not only gruesome, but they also reveal violations of the law, says Susana Mendoza, the Illinois State Comptroller.
Those bodies in the photos or videos that you've shown show people just in plastic bags, maybe in sheets, some bodies on top of other bodies in the most recent investigation. All of those are unacceptable.
Her office regulates crematories like Heights Crematory in Chicago Heights. Our CBS investigation exposed how people's remains were handled here. We've blurred the photos out of respect for them and their families.
It's disgusting. It's sick. I mean, really, you feel sick.
Mendoza is now attempting to shut this operation down for good and has filed a complaint to officially revoke its state license.
What did you feel when you saw those photos?
And I'll tell you what I felt, Dave, when I saw these pictures. I felt that our dog got a more dignified treatment in death than these people did. These are people. They're people's loved ones, family members. And to see anyone treated in that disrespectful, undignified manner in death was disgusting to me.
Can you open up that trailer for me? Can you open up that trailer?
We wanted to see inside the trailer ourselves where these pictures were taken and tried questioning the man who runs the business, Clark Morgan.
I want to show you some photos. Should you be treating people's remains like this? There's bugs in the photos. They're in plastic, they're in sheets.
Good God. I wish I had like 5 minutes to myself with this guy in a room.
You felt you had to blow the whistle.
Yes, sir.
Christopher Icavetti is the tipster who sent these photos to our CBS investigative team.
You had seen something that you just couldn't unsee.
Correct. A very sad way to see the final days of where your loved one goes.
Among the 19 bodies found in this dirty trailer with a broken refrigeration unit was a 74-year-old man named Jasper Williams. His body has been at the business for a year.
I'll tell you from looking at him, the level of decomposition of him when I saw him, I knew he was there for a long time.
How does a body go unnoticed for a year?
Well, they hid the body for a year. I mean, that's how it goes unnoticed.
Over the last 8 months, her office repeatedly hit Heights with violations for how they were storing people's remains.
You guys cited them in July.
Yep.
You cited them in October and you cited them in December, and they just still kept on doing things like this trailer. What does that say about the system?
Yeah, it says that it needs to be changed, right? So this is why I'm saying that state law is set up in a way to allow them to continue to operate.
She says during those surprise inspections, Heights workers concealed that there were bodies in this trailer.
You're dealing with people, human remains.
She says they found 100 bodies in total at the facility, most lacking the proper paperwork to be cremated. They also found ashes of over 300 people in bags. One dated back to 2013.
It's disgusting. It just makes you sick to the core.
And while some of the deceased, like Stacy Morrow Graves' father, Merritt, were shipped here from another business, Crown Cremations in Indiana, most were from the Chicago area.
It's disgusting to me that this primarily affected African American families.
Predominantly, though, African American?
Predominantly African American. So these folks have been taken advantage of. What I do have control over is shutting them down so that no family ever again has to wonder if this is a crematory that can be trusted. Let me tell you, they cannot be trusted, and that's why we're moving to shut them down permanently.
Heights was also cited for continuing to accept new bodies since their voluntary shutdown last month. Heights has 20 days to respond to the complaint. Meantime, they will remain suspended. When I called Heights operator Clark Morgan today for a comment, he hung up. Joe and Erica Mendoza says she also wants funeral homes to be investigated, that we're sending them there, but that's another agency that regulates them.
The CBS News Chicago investigators just obtained more graphic images from inside a crematory the state wants to shut down.
Dave Savini was the first to expose Heights Crematory mishandling people's remains. He joins us now with what these images reveal.
Joe and Erica, these videos and photos show how bodies were being handled dating back years. We obtained the images from 2 more whistleblowers that have contacted us. They want everyone to know how this crematory was treating bodies long before we started investigating.
Man, we just got too many bodies laying around. We
You are looking at newly obtained video from inside Heights Crematory, taken by a person who wants their voice disguised.
As you can see, it's packed.
They want you to see how people's remains were mishandled here, dating back years ago. For their dignity, we blurred the body parts stacked on racks, faces, arms, and more, exposed and hanging off the shelves.
This is a video of inside the place.
We showed these images to State Comptroller Susana Mendoza, who regulates crematories.
You could see the conditions.
It's horrible.
Take a close look. In the background, you can see the man who runs the crematory, Clark Morgan. Last month, we tried to question him
Just leaving them in sheets like that?
about the way bodies were being treated on the property here.
There's bugs in that photo. You got nothing to say?
I'm so disgusted. Like, there was a point in this whole experience where it's like you want to puke.
Heights Crematory was suspended from operating yesterday and faces a permanent shutdown after the state filed a 4-count complaint against them, accusing them of misrepresentation and concealing facts to state inspectors about the bodies stored in this trailer. The state also accused them of gross malpractice.
You felt you had to blow the whistle.
Yes, sir.
A whistleblower tipped us off about the trailer. Mendoza's office got the same tip.
The minute I did, we sent our staff over there to do a surprise investigation. And guess what? We found out that it was true. So I'm glad for whoever the whistleblower was.
You open up that trailer for me? Can you open up that trailer?
Mendoza says they found bodies being stored in ways that violate state law. Now a third person has come forward with even more images. These pictures from 2022, bodies laying out, body parts exposed, covered in bodily fluids. In this picture we blurred, a woman was left out, completely naked, in the middle of the crematory.
These are people. They're people's loved ones, family members. Our goal here has been to get proper closure and dignity to these bodies.
I mean, come on, you're dealing with people, human remains. Fine.
The state confirms Morgan had stored a Chicago man named Jasper Williams here for a year. The 74-year-old was found in this dirty trailer with no refrigeration unit. He'd been embalmed, was dressed in a suit, and wrapped in plastic.
How does a body go unnoticed for a year?
Well, they hid the body for a year.
The crematory had been in trouble before with the state for mishandling remains, cited last July, October, and in December.
They should not be allowed a second chance. There's no more 3 strikes and you're out. We are moving to shut them down.
It's unclear why the woman left naked on a gurney or any of the other bodies were not in the type of containers they're supposed to be in. Those containers are supposed to be designed to completely cover the remains and go in the cremation chamber too. The source says that woman was completely exposed for several days, Joe and Erica.
And you continue to hear from people, right?
And that's what's really important here. Keep the tips coming in. That's how we're able to tell these stories and advancing this.
Dave, thanks.
Thank you.
A very troubling scene plays out inside a funeral home while a daughter says goodbye to her mother.
What she saw inside the casket haunts her. CBS News Chicago investigator Dave Savini has her story and the connection to other families impacted.
That's right, Erica and Joe. The man at the center has been accused of mishandling people's remains for years. We broke the story about the state trying to shut down a crematory he runs for mishandling bodies. Now we've uncovered more about him, including a professional license he altered to handle bodies.
She was well loved by everyone.
Rochelle Whitney Bay says her mother, Helen Mercer, dedicated her life to her family, community, and her job managing properties for the Chicago Housing Authority.
She wanted to see everybody happy.
Helen died in 2020 at the age of 82, but Rochelle says when the family went to say goodbye to their mother, what they saw in her casket turned a celebration of life into an unforgettable moment of shock and disgust.
It shouldn't have, her eyes shouldn't be popping open. I mean, at a funeral,
We blurred cell phone video taken by the family.
And during your mother's wake, your mother's eyes opened up.
Yes.
You know I'm dissatisfied.
Wait, I didn't know you were dissatisfied until you came here today.
She and her family confronted the man in the green shirt, Clark Morgan, at McCullough Funeral Home's Ford Heights location, where he claimed to be the funeral director.
We're tired of the BS. We're tired of people dealing with us like dirt. Don't you supposed to glue the eyes shut?
Not necessarily.
They say Helen had no makeup on and was in a state of decay.
It was hurtful. I couldn't stand there and look at it.
She then questioned Clark Morgan's credentials.
What's your title?
What do you mean?
What is your title?
I'm the owner.
You're the owner?
I'm the owner.
Are you a funeral director?
Yes.
He told her he's a funeral director, but we investigated that claim, found state records showing Morgan has never been a licensed funeral director.
Yes. Okay, that's it. Enough said right there. You're a funeral director. That's enough said right there.
You got nothing to say?
If Clark Morgan
come on,
sounds
you're dealing
familiar,
with
he
people,
should.
human
For the last
remains.
month, the CBS News Chicago investigators have been exposing his handling of bodies at the crematory he runs, Heights Crematory in Chicago Heights.
I'm Dave Savini from CBS. I want to show you some photos.
It's here where a whistleblower took these photos and sent them to CBS. Same photos were also sent to the Illinois State Comptroller Office, which regulates crematories, and they launched an investigation.
Should you be treating people's remains like this?
People's remains were not kept as they were supposed to be. Instead, they were in this trailer, faces and body parts exposed. One man was left here for an entire year.
There's bugs in the photos. They're in plastic. They're in sheets. Come on, Clark, talk to me.
It's not fair to the families. It's not fair to the deceased. And they've been profiting from it.
When Rochelle saw our investigation into Morgan, she contacted us about his handling of her mother.
He didn't have a license.
False representation.
Yes, false representation.
I came at you right.
talked.
I came at you right.
We could talk.
Helen Mercer's case wasn't the only time Morgan was accused of posing as a funeral director. We got this state record showing Morgan was caught removing 2 bodies from Northwestern Memorial Hospital in 2022 and 2023. In those cases, the state found him using an altered license and fined him $10,000.
Fraud?
Of course, fraud.
Rochelle says Morgan was supposed to cremate her mother after the funeral service.
You're not right.
That's not.
You are not right.
But by that time, she and her family had seen enough and fired him.
I stopped the cremation.
She instead hired a different funeral home to handle her mother's burial. She says her mom had to be embalmed again because it had not been done correctly.
You think this is appropriate?
And says the only glimmer of hope for justice came when she saw our stories.
And when I seen it on the news, we just was like, yeah, we got him like a mouse on a trap. But this time, the mouse is not going to get away.
Helen Mercer's family says there needs to be a criminal investigation. We've repeatedly reached out to Clark Morgan and have not heard back. We also reached out to McCullough Funeral Home where Morgan was using space, but they have not returned our call. Heights Crematory is shut down pending a hearing next week.
A suburban crematory has been shut down after our investigators exposed the mishandling of bodies there back in February.
At least 100 bodies were found at Heights Crematory, many improperly left in trailers. Some families still haven't gotten their loved ones' remains. A state hearing is set for next month to permanently close the business.
Tonight, we've uncovered even more troubling findings. One woman asked our Dave Savini to help her find out what really happened to her mom's body. Dave.
Erica and Joe, this is about as bad as it can get. A daughter trying to honor her mother's wishes ends up in tears after we uncovered the unthinkable.
What are we looking at right here?
The remains of my father and my mother.
These 2 plastic bags are all Ren Williams has left of her mom and dad, Paul and Betty Williams of Highland Park. Both were supposed to be cremated at Heights Crematory in Chicago Heights.
I sent my mom to Heights because that's where she had my dad cremated in 2011 when he passed away.
You wanted her to be at the same place that
Yes,
he
exactly,
was
yes.
Her mom died in 2020, but Ren couldn't understand why her father's bag of cremains was so much lighter and smaller than her mother's, especially since he outweighed her mom by 60 pounds.
This is only 4 pounds, and this is 5.3 pounds.
Correct.
Should it be that, do you think? Do you think that seems odd?
Seems odd to me.
Ren wanted us to investigate the discrepancy since seeing our series of investigative reports exposing how Heights and its operator, Clark Morgan, are accused of mishandling bodies both inside his crematory and outside in this trailer.
Can you open up that trailer for me?
Since February, Morgan has refused to talk to us about these images of bodies stacked in plastic, body parts exposed in this dirty trailer on his property.
Should you be treating people's remains like this? There's bugs in the photos.
Morgan is also accused of failing to process cremations in a timely manner. Bodies were found here waiting to be cremated for months. One man found in this trailer had been dead an entire year.
I just felt that was complete neglect.
Ren also had to wait for her mom's remains, despite continuously arguing with Morgan and his staff over the phone.
I would call them and they would say they'd call me back and they would never call me back.
Ultimately, how long did it take before you got your mother's remains?
2.5 years.
You heard that right. It took her 2.5 years, and she had to file an official complaint with the state to finally get her mom's bag of ashes and this urn. She says Morgan never even got in trouble for making her wait so long, and now she wonders if her mom was also just tossed in a trailer too.
That's all I can see, and I'm trying to place my mother somewhere in that chaos.
For years, Morgan has gotten away with multiple slaps on the wrist by multiple state agencies for all of his violations, but his crematory just kept running.
What does that say?
There's not enough oversight. Somebody has to be held accountable.
And when it comes to her mom's cremains, the story couldn't get any worse. A state investigator recently asked her to do one more thing.
I had to, dump it out.
She was asked to dig through her mother's ashes to look for a crucial piece of evidence, this metal identification tag.
That tag was inside her bag of remains.
Each bag of cremains contains a tag like this. The log number on it is supposed to match the person cremated.
So this tag that you found inside your mom's remains is not your mom's log number.
It's not my mom's log number.
In fact, they couldn't even find her.
They couldn't even find her on the log.
So you don't have your mom?
So I don't have my mom, no.
You have some remains that probably belong to
somebody else, another family.
And then, as she thought about it,
sorry, Ren.
The realization hit.
It triggers an immense sense of emotional distress and trauma.
Attorney Jonathan Trushansky is filing a lawsuit against Heights on behalf of Ren Williams and her family.
To this day, nobody knows where her mom's body is or where her remains are. Nobody.
What are you feeling?
Helpless.
She expected her mom would have been treated with dignity and respect. Certainly not this. The state comptroller confirms the log number did not match her mom's. Confidential sources tell us the state police are now involved. This place has been trusted with thousands of bodies over the years. There's no telling how big this will be.
This is so horrifying, and to see the emotion there. So when you say police are involved, there's a potential for criminal charges here.
There's possible fraud, there's consumer fraud, there's also dealing with corpses. There's all kinds of laws here that they're looking at.
And there are people who had their loved ones cremated here, I'm guessing, don't even know that it was done there.
No, a lot of these people hired a funeral home, and the funeral home hired this place, and they didn't know.
Dave, thanks very much.
Thank you.